you said something about, you're blue, independent. I've been a registered independent for 17 years. I like Clinton. I voted for him. I like Trump. I voted for him. I fought for him. I defended him. I think he's the right guy right now for America where we are. Love him or hate him. I don't care where you are. It's my position. Right. I'm not saying you love him or hate him. Right. I'm talking to the audience. But that's a part of it, why we have something in America which is fantastic, which is called debate. And the reason why I bring this up is if I'm watching, like the way I watch interviews, John, is when a conversation is taking place, I'm saying, ask this. Ask this. Right. This is my question. Right. I'm the audience. Ask me the question I want to ask. The question I would ask is the following. I think the question fans will want to ask. If you're willing to meet with the feds for 40 minutes, why don't you meet with Sammy? By the way, Sammy also doesn't want to do it. Right. I can't. I must be the worst negotiator in the world. But here's the thing. Because I can't get neither side to anything. I should retire from sales and go sell, make some Starbucks or something.
Here's the answer to that question.
Business stuff I still can't figure out.
I was about to go to trial.
Yeah.
I had co-defendants. We were going to trial, going to war against the government. Okay. That was part of the tactic that I employed, to meet with them to establish a foundation with me going on the stand and testifying. Me. They accused me of being the shot caller. I was the head of the indictment. I was the father. According to them, I was the father. This was the family, and I was the father of that family. I didn't send a sacrificial lamb to go along there. I didn't tell some. I was going to go on that stand myself. And believe me, it would have been a war. I'd have been sparring with the best. The U.S. attorneys would have been coming out with everything. And look, it would have gotten to a point. Charlie Canisi asked that question. You're going to be asked some sensitive questions about sensitive people. And I'm going to say, I don't have a rat deal here. I don't have one of those 5K1 letters. See, all these rats have what's called the most magic get-out-of-jail-free tickets. It's called a 5K1 letter. A 5K1 letter means you're a rat. It means you help the government out. They go in front of the judge, and they get you released from prison. Me? I fought the United States government over and over and over again. I even was willing on the last case. I offered to take 20 years. So they stopped subpoenaing my sister. They subpoenaed my sister, Victoria. They subpoenaed all my witnesses, including my brother, Peter. They harassed my family. I told my lawyer, go in and tell them I'll take 20 right now. Just let this go. We're done. You know what the FBI agent in charge of the case said? Tell John that's not going to happen. We got him. That's what he said. You know what I did? When the verdict came down, and finally the final letter came down, after multiple Allen charges, you never heard of more than one Allen charge in any case. It's an explosion charge to get a verdict. This judge unethically did one unannounced and two announced, which already, those are reversible issues right there alone. 23 days of deliberations, 23 days, those people went to war and got me released on December 1. 15 years ago last week, I was released. December 1, okay? I was released from solitary confinement, released home to my family. And when they came over and told me, and the judge says, you have no other choice to give me bail, it was the fifth case in 37 months, what I did was, I got up. First, I had some emotions. I had some tears running down my face. Let's not forget that. It was very emotional. I was going home. Is this really over? Is this finally really over? The wars are over? As Bruce Cutler called them, the Gotti Wars, are they finally over? Okay? Got my composure, got up. The FBI agent was sitting over there. I looked at him, I walked past him, I stopped, I walked back. I said, how's that 20 years look now, motherfucker? And I walked out. Couldn't help myself. Should have taken the 20. You had me. I threw the towel in. That was my way of being a punk. My way of being a punk was taking the 20 years and quitting. And I was taking 20 years. Not a rat deal. Not one of those magic 5K1 get out of jail free cards like they all got. No. I was taking 20 years. Think about it. That case, I'm 60 years old. I'd be getting out in 2 more years. I'd be getting out. So right now, you and I wouldn't be talking. I'd be getting released in 2 years from now. Think about that for a second, okay? And I was willing to do that. That's what I was willing to do to make this all end, to make this pain stop, to make my mother's pain stop, make my wife's pain stop, make my siblings' pain stop, make my father's grandkids once and for all. Let's end this madness. This is crazy. I mean, the Gottis are the most tried family in history, and I'm the most tried Gotti. No Gotti tried more than me. None. You could look it up. Please, while we're here, did we get that stat yet? Because 37 months, stop to start, 5 federal proceedings, never been done before, ever. Donald Trump. You voted for Donald, right? Okay, how many cases did he get? Some were civil, I think 1 civil, 2 criminal, then 1 state case on top of that, right?
Man,
4
it
in total?
seems like he got a ton of them. I don't know what the number is.
Guess who got more than Donald Trump? Me. Guess who has $1 billion? Him. Guess who now has absolution? Him. Guess who had to fight his way out? Me.
34 charges.
Oh, I eclipsed those 34 charges. If you take my indictments and stack them all up, 34 charges.
John, you may want to run.
You got to go into 150, 200 charges for crime.
You're running for office 28, then that's
Listen,
I
got charged, Pat, I got charged with a murder. I got charged in Pinellas County, Florida. A federal judge sent me back home to New York to be tried because he didn't want nothing to do with the case. He knew I didn't belong there. He said, this man beat you 4 times and you're going to dump him on me? Oh, hell no. He could have dismissed it. He didn't. He sent it back to New York. I got charged with a murder in Tampa, Florida. I'd never been to Tampa in my life. I couldn't find Tampa with a goddamn map. The first time I ever arrived in Tampa, Florida was in handcuffs. They had a massive press conference. I believe the U.S. Attorney's name was O'Neill. 20 agents up there.
You've never been there?
Never been to Tampa. Excuse me. In my life. Never been to Tampa in my life. That was the first time in handcuffs and shackles with a helicopter over me, 20 guards around me bringing me into the prison. And I'm saying, basically, when my lawyer, famed Henry Gonzalez, speaking of RICO, he's one of the first lawyers to spar with Robert Blakey, who created the RICO law. Henry Gonzalez, the late, great Henry Gonzalez, dear friend of mine, and I love the guy, I miss him. He came to see me. Friend of my dad's, friend of Neil Delacroce. And he says, how are you, John? I says, Henry, what am I doing here? He says, well, you're about to fight a RICO case. I says, I've never been to Tampa in my life. He says, well, they say otherwise. And I was there. But before we forget, Pat, and I know where you want to close with, I want to just read something. I got 2 things I want to read to you very quickly, okay? And you give me, again, I'm going to ask you for an opinion. And I admire honesty. I truly do. I truly do. Oh, and I didn't continue. With the Gravano, I would never meet with Gravano, with the government, because that was a tactic we were employing to fight a case. I was employing the tactic to fight a case. Everybody knew I was going in, okay? I was a civilian, so I was able to fight the case different than the next guy. But I want to read something to you. These are the letters that I had sent, me personally, endorsed by my counsel, but I personally had typed them up, had them type them up. I don't know how to type, but I had written myself personally to the following individuals, asking for an open hearing on misconduct against me, as well as this rat charge against me. Now, does this sound like somebody has something to hide? Here I am. Attorney Generals of the U.S. Attorney. Okay. I had written Attorney General Michael Mukasey on 3/10/08. Got no response back. I had written Attorney General Eric Holder on 7/13/09. Got no response back. I had written to U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara twice, one in January 2815 and the other in 2014. No response. And I had written to U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions on 4/17/2017. Okay? And I got a letter back saying, thank you, friend, for your letter, and we're going to consider this. Well, here we are 7 years later. I still haven't heard back from anybody. So, is this a guy who gives you any impression that he's got something to hide? Now, remind you also, letters asking for hearings. Then I asked my trial judge, Shira Shinlin, for a hearing on April 2006. I asked for this in open court about this issue and the leaks to the press and everything else, and what they were trying to create, this aura around me. And basically, I asked for it. We asked for the hearing in April 2006, as well as in August again in 2006. And both times it was turned down. I asked for the hearing from my trial judge, Kevin Costell, on 11/11/09. And again, in the summer of 2009. We asked Eli Honig, the prosecutor. We asked him for the demand for the file on the lead FBI agent there. Again, nobody's ever complied. Now, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Eli Honig. He was an amazing prosecutor. And I got to tell you, of all the prosecutors that I faced in my life, I think between state and federal, I know in federal I faced 17 prosecutors or U.S. attorneys. And I think we have a couple of the state. I think we go into like 22 or 23. Eli Honig was a very professional prosecutor. He was good at what he did. I don't believe he ever even wanted the case. When we won the motion in Tampa, Florida, that case was dumped on his lap. The team in Tampa, Florida came over to New York. So now I had to fight 2 different agencies. I had to fight the Middle District of Tampa, and I had the Middle District of Florida, which is Tampa. I think it's the 11th Circuit. And I had to fight the Southern District of New York, which was Eli Honig, was the AUSA in that case. I had to fight both of them. Eli Honig had written a book. Okay, and again, I'm trying to be expeditious here. He had written a book, and in the book that he had written, he talks about the case agent on my case. And again, I guess this may be a case of how you guys are going to edit this, but again, I'm just trying to get all this content in because it's essential to make my case. Okay? Just goes to show you about the 302, how it works out, how it's dictated, how in my particular case, 13 months later, a report was garnished a report 13 months later, how ridiculous it is. There's dead people in a bar fight that could not have been there. The investigative detective was in the bar fight. Look, you're the greatest crime-fighting agency in the world. So you say, right? The FBI? They did say that at one time, and I believe, there are some bad apples, but I do believe the technology that they probably are the greatest crime-fighting agency in the world. You're telling me a select few decided to overlook some of these things or not even to bother to research this? Who's Riley? Who's Joe Curio? Dead man at a bar fight? Nobody chose to look at that? Okay, I'll go along with that. But let me show you why I end up at that point. Here's Eli Honig, and again, a respected AUSA, and I have respect for him as a AUSA because he fought the case, I believe, as fair as he possibly could with his hands tied to a point. Okay? He talks about the agent on my case, and when he talks about him, he says he was obsessed with a certain particular murder. He was brilliant. He's brilliant, incorrigible, relentless, FBI special agent with the Queens-based Gambino squad. He had investigated and solved plenty of mob cases over his career, often deploying unorthodox techniques. Now pay attention to this one. He once typed up pages of phony transcripts of a wiretap that didn't exist, put them into a binder, and showed them to a Gambino soldier to try to convince him that we had him dead on wiretapping to try to make him into a rat, to flip him. Now, is that ethical? Put false documents out to try to flip somebody, to tell them they're going to get killed if they don't? Well, this is he's, with humor, he's openly talking about this. I mean, I couldn't help by reading this. I read it over and over again, and I read it again, and I read it again, and I said to myself, did he say this? Because this ain't funny. This is misconduct. It's everything I've been saying that this particular agent did. It's misconduct. You're doctoring up documents. It's misconduct. That's not by the rule book. You're the FBI. You are holier than thou. The rules that pertain to you are supposed to be a higher standard. I guess not. I guess not.
You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but the last 13 and a half years, I've been working on my first fiction book to write, ever. Fiction book to write. And while I finished this book, a year ago, I got the strangest phone call about one of the characters in the book where the guy wanted to meet with me, and he read the book. And afterwards, is like, wait a minute, am I the villain in the book? This is a story about a character named Asher, who is half Armenian, half Assyrian, whose father was involved in the Iranian Revolution, linked to Savak, working with the Shah, that they escape and he gets recruited to a secret society. Well, when you go to the secret society, it's been around for a couple thousand years. They've developed some of the craziest leaders of all time. And they test you. There's unique tests that they have at this society where they test to see your emotional mental toughness. One of the tests that they have is very rigorous. It's purely mental. Of course, there's a physical one, but one is mental and emotional. If you're Armenian, if you're Syrian, if you're Persian, this is a book you're going to be reading and saying, holy moly, this is the kind of stuff you talk about in here? Yes. If you're somebody that's fascinated by history, this is a book for you. Characters. There's a technology that this society, secret society, builds where you go into a vault. I won't spoil it for you. When you go down, they have a technology where you get to sit down and watch and have a 3-4 hour conversation with Tupac. You can set up a debate between Karl Marx and Ayn Rand. Karl Marx is in the book, who wrote Communist Manifesto. Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, is in the book. Marilyn Monroe explains the concept of seduction and sex in the book. When you read the book, it's about development of the next leaders in the world and how they do it and how they've been doing it for many years. And it's also about how to prevent the end of civilization and how this organization goes about doing it. So I've never written a parenting book before, but if I ever wrote a parenting book, this is the closest thing to it because it's all mindset, a lot of crazy stories. Again, 13 and a half years. Trust me, I told myself I will not publish this book until I sell my insurance company and I'm fully disconnected from it, where it's no longer my responsibility 100%. When you read this, if you're a creative person, if you like fiction books, if you enjoyed Atlas Shrugged, or if you enjoy Divergent, if you like books like that, I think you're gonna enjoy reading this book. It's the creative side. Business books is very easy. Here's how you do it. Here's how this how it works. This is very creative. If you haven't placed the order yet, now you can order it on Simon & Schuster, Amazon. I'm going to put the link up below somewhere here, maybe even in my profile. Go order the book and read it. I've never written a book where I can't wait to read your reviews to see what you think about this book. So I'm going on this wild journey, and we have some plans with this book here. If you support the things that I work on, I would appreciate you going and reading the book, order the book on Amazon, and then post a review. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.